I am going to thank you so much. I hope you all don't mind. I sent it to Nur Sultan. These recordings have been incredibly helpful to me as I'm trying to share these ideas and see how I am expressing things clearly and where there is room for me to improve. So thank you for all of your participation with these lectures. I'm very grateful to all of you. Um, I wanted to share some work that I had recently done with some students, and I wanted to see it from your perspective as future teachers, how uh, how you would do this. I don't know about you, but I've spent lots of time going to museums as a student and as a teacher, and I find that they tend to be usually a bit of a blur because you see like 30 different things and then you don't remember a single thing. So what I recently did was I went to a museum, the Museum of Natural History in New York City, and uh, the professional development was very high end. So I took that professional development and I tried to make an activity for that I thought was student appropriate, but also very directed at only instead of looking at 30 different exhibits, looking at two exhibits and then doing a deep dive into that. So, no, Shazan, if you could please, God, I can't. Yeah, I think it's probably going to be. It's going to maybe number. Yeah, I should have made put better names for this, but there's one that will have an image
Number
on
one.
it. Yeah, just try opening. No, that
Mhm,
not that one. Another one. Sorry.
mhm.
So yeah, maybe that one. Yes.
This
Okay.
one.
Yes. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do, Nurse Tan, can you open that up a little bit larger? So um,
Mhm,
yeah. Okay, we've got these two. Yeah, let's just start with that one. Okay. So if you have what some paper next to you, what
mhm,
I would love to ask you to do is um, let's do a quick sketch, like literally, like with some paper. And with the idea with sketching, don't worry, as I taught you before, don't try and get the details right. Just try and capture the shapes correctly. So when we're looking at the forearm, or if we're looking at the arm
mhm,
bone, just try and capture the shapes correctly and try and sketch that arm bone. This is an Allosaurus. It's about 3 feet long with 3 fingers. So I'd like you to just sketch it as you look at it for a couple of minutes and write down whatever comes to mind as you look at it. And you know, as scientists, what we want to look at when we're looking at life, we want to ask ourselves the question, how will this feature that I notice help an organism to either live, to survive, or to successfully reproduce. So let's take this is a simple one. Let's take 2 or 3 minutes for this one, and then let's see what we observe, and then we'll do it for the next one. I'm doing it too.
mhm.
Nurse Sultan, I'll ask you to also participate.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
doing
you.
it.
And no need to be self-conscious here. We're going for uh, quick. And if you notice something, feel free to just share it. If you got an aha moment, feel free to share it. No need to wait for me to call on you. I just want to hear what you're noticing or what does your brain find interesting. It might be easier to do it vertically instead of on a horizontal page, but whatever works for you.
Mhm.
Sabina, just curious, what stands out to you as you're looking at this and just sketching it? What catches your interest and your attention? There's no wrong answer. Oh, great. Just tell me what you're noticing. Just or another way of asking this is, what do you think this creature, what do you think this dinosaur ate?
For me, the heart drop because this.
Okay.
Mm.
What do you think this dinosaur ate, just as you look at it?
Students, do you agree with me that, like while I am drawing, I started to notice that while like we draw this, we start to pay attention to every single details, and we can capture, like, we try to capture like some extra stuff and think about that. For example, if Salim would show us this picture and ask us, for example, what do you think about that, I would not come that idea that I have in my mind, but while drawing I come with some idea, and I will pop up after you. If you have some idea, please share, and then after that I can come up with my own idea. Okay, I will share it with you. What do you think about that?
What shapes do you see in this?
I guess this is a skeleton of a hand
Hmm.
of
And what
maybe
shapes do you see?
animal. The shape.
Yeah,
Mm,
like what is the arm? What shape is this? It's a square, a circle, a triangle?
Well, this is like a something not diagonal. How do you call this?
Yeah,
Like,
okay. Yeah.
uh,
It's like a rectangle.
yes, like a rectangle.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the fingers? What shapes do you see with the fingers?
Maybe cycle.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
So let's think about that. Let's think about this shape. And remember, in science, what we want to say or suggest is that form follows function, meaning that the shape of the fingers probably tells us something about how this animal ate. What can we suggest about this dinosaur with three fingers with its this shape of a claw, and each claw is like 6 to 8 inches long. So they're like this long. What do you
So
think that this creature ate?
I think this creature is carnivorous. It's a
Okay.
predator
Ah, interesting. So what is your evidence to support that idea?
because if you check for the structure of these claws and the way how big they are, so it means that these claws they are strong enough to help this creature to hold or catch the other organisms.
Ah, interesting. So you're saying it will latch on to its prey. Excellent. So what you're doing right now is you just generated a scientific hypothesis. I haven't shown you the whole dinosaur, but you were able to generate a hypothesis with just looking at this one arm and paying close attention to that. Okay. So we can even go further. Do you think that this dinosaur, it ate large animals, small animals? What can we infer? There's no right or wrong answer. We're just generating hypotheses right now.
What do you think, students?
I, I think it's medium sized
Okay. What great. What makes you think that?
because of the length. If you start from the beginning of this drawing before
Hmm.
going to the claws, the length of this I don't know how to call this.
It's called an Allosaurus, but this dinosaur, yeah.
Okay, let's say like for us it's like a shoulder. From study from the beginning of this shoulder.
Yeah.
It's not too much long.
Okay. Excellent. You just expanded. So we were started by trying to figure out what it ate based upon the claws, and now you expanded to look at more of the evidence that you have available. You're saying that this is overall, its arm is not particularly long. Okay. So, and that would suggest you just connected the structure to the function. You're saying this is not a long arm, so it's probably not attacking large animals. It's probably attacking medium animals. That makes sense. Excellent. We don't know. That's okay. We've just developed a hypothesis. Okay. This was a 2 minute, and I make my
Mhm.
students do this quickly because I want them to be able to pay attention and be focused on it. All right. So now we're going to do the next one, a different dinosaur, and I'd like you to sketch that one right below or on the next page of your sheet. It's a different dinosaur with a different structure. Okay. And then we'll compare them.
Can I tell something about this?
Please.
Yeah, like what I have noticed by while drawing, like I started to think about that, like and go deeper rather than being a surface observer.
Yep.
You see, like thought that this, this skeleton is not complete.
Yes.
They need to have like fourth finger. Why? Because it's usually like easier to catch something, like to hold something with four fingers. But
Hmm.
here it's only three, and it's like very uncomfortable to hold something with three fingers, especially when all of the three like looks forward. No one of them goes backward, like they don't have like back holding, yeah,
Yeah.
finger.
No thumb. That's
uh
that's very good.
Also, I think that this is a like front leg,
Hmm.
because like this is some kind of, like um it's like not the core part, like the core part of the skeleton
Yeah.
is not wide.
Yeah.
It's narrow, and
Hmm.
therefore I think it's like front leg. And it's I think the dinosaurs do not use this so frequently to walk or to assist in walking, since this is like so fragile. I think, yeah, it looks like fragile.
Yeah.
It's not like like very strong.
Yeah.
And after that, what I have noticed it here, and like it's like very like it is some kind of a rudimental, like it becoming a rudimental. Why?
Hmm.
Because it's not too long, too big. Just I imagine dinos, like very
Hmm.
big dino that
Yeah.
has this leg, and like it's kind of like an arm, but it's like it's getting a rudimental. Why? Because they just like use it for to grab something, not
Yeah.
for walking or something like that. And what else
Yeah.
do I have? It's like and also it is has like bone structure, like
Hmm.
conjunctions,
Ah,
like
yes.
many
The
conjunctions.
joints. Yes.
Yeah, joints. And they like I think it's like we have, how many we have here? One, two, three. It's like, yeah, it's very similar to human.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it's like it's very easy to do like this, like,
Yes. You
yeah,
can
yeah,
picture doing
yeah,
you can picture doing these
yeah,
movements. You can see that you are capable of doing similar movements. I think this is
yeah.
excellent. And you're
And
you're
it's
you're
this
modeling.
proves
Yeah.
this proves that this this leg is functional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, you're
What
you're
else?
showing deep observation because when we look at something for a second, we can get one or two thoughts, but then when you're drawing and you're spending
Mm,
more time looking at it, your brain starts to get deeper into it. Now, you might not want to share your thinking because it feels weird, but this is how our brains work. The longer we look at something, the more we
mm,
notice, and then the more questions we have. And so you can do this with students with anything that you make them draw. That's why I make students draw all the time because it forces you to look at something longer. If I took the kids to the museum and just made them look at the dinosaur, they would look at this for maybe 2 seconds and then get nothing from it. But now by drawing it, you have to think about it and notice more. Now let's draw and look at this second one. This is a completely
mm,
different dinosaur, but let's draw it and just think about it and in our heads compare what we notice between the two dinosaurs. And remember, we talk about this idea of structure being related to function. So if there's a very different structure, what does that suggest about its function? Ismail, what do you think?
This one is a little bit different from the first one, yeah?
Yeah. So if you're looking, it is different. So what does that right away? What does that tell you about how it functions? Is it going to be a very? I'm
It's
sorry?
confusing me how, if I look at this structure, the previous structure, it looks more like us, like a mammal, human beings.
Okay.
But this one, before claws, and the first part, it looks like our vertebra. So
Oh, interesting. You're right.
it's confusing me. Is this I don't get the structure of how it looks like now, but I'm still thinking.
Okay. Well, this is the arm of this creature. I think you're stumbling on something, right? It's very so the top one is much more similar to us. So if this structure is very different, what can we say about the purpose of these claws compared to the purpose of the claws of the other creature? Anybody want to think like what do these claws do that are different than the other claws?
Baruch, what do you think?
Oh, teacher,
Yeah,
my answer,
Yeah,
please.
Daniel, come.
maybe this goes from the not arm, maybe from the leg.
Okay, this is a different species. This is a completely different species. I want to make sure that that's clear. Okay. This is
Maybe it's for
and it is the arm. I don't want to compare
arm.
two things that are different. I deliberately chose two arms of
Okay,
two different dinosaurs.
Mm.
Can I answer?
Please.
Yeah.
I feel like these claws are less functional than the previous
Okay.
bone structure of
Okay.
the dinosaur. But they look like they're larger.
Yep.
Only half of the hand is this large claw,
hmm
and it doesn't have like the same like joints
That's
structure.
true. It doesn't have the same joints. This is a lot less flexible than the other one. Now, we don't know unless you happen to be an expert on dinosaurs. If you are, great. But what does this structure suggest about the difference in the diet? Do these two creatures eat the same things?
I feel like no, because the first one looks like a predator,
Okay.
and this one probably, like, I don't think it would be the same diet. Maybe this dinosaur ate fish.
Explain, please. That's an interesting. I love your hypothesis. Please explain.
Because I think these claws, they look like crab claws.
Oh, that's
Like,
interesting.
Mm.
Okay.
I'm not
So
sure.
so it's almost it looks kind of like a pincer. So you're suggesting okay, and I think that makes sense that a different structure would go for a different organism. So maybe this particular organism was spearing fish or something like that with its claws. Excellent. Uh, what other ideas could there be? Again, don't worry if we're right or wrong.
I have an idea.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I think uh, these two species
hmm
have the same characteristics, and most of them are carnivorous. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, carnivore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So
carnivorous.
please explain.
So the first one it had like three claws.
hmm
I explained at the beginning that it's responsible for like grabbing some organism and
Yeah.
eating it.
Okay.
But this now the claws seems very bigger, sharp, and carved in. So in my opinion, I
Yeah.
think this organism it's more like those organisms that like tearing apart, like blade-like structure.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's using its weapons, its natural weapons, to kill in a different way.
Yeah, also to defend itself from other species.
Okay. So you gave me two different hypotheses that those are both very interesting. One is that this might be more defensive weapons. The other one it's going to use to kill and hunt in a different way. Both of those are valid scientific hypotheses. And so the thing that I really want to stress is none of this is about seeking the right answer. It is about investigating and coming up with ideas as you spend time looking at something. And this is something that any student can do. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know anything about the species. I don't have to tell you anything about the predator or the prey. You have generated all of this without knowing anything other than what your senses currently tell you. Now,
Mr. Selim,
yes, please.
sorry, can I ask something?
Please, with pleasure.
Yes, so about like what Ismail just said, he
Yes.
says something about like these dinosaurs, which is very like a fact. All
Mhm.
of us can see and say the same thing. So
Yes.
is that still like a hypothesis?
Well, so you're all looking at the same data, but
Yes.
how we interpret it is going to be a little bit different. So if one person thinks that these claws are used for spearing fish, that's one hypothesis. If another person is saying these claws are mostly for defense, that's a different hypothesis.
I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So and the reason I'm saying it's, I mean, you could say it's a prediction, that's if you prefer that word. But this is obviously not enough information for us to know exactly what is true or not. So you have some hypotheses, and that's the first part of the scientific journey. You have the first part is you observe something that you find interesting. You then have a hypothesis or a prediction about this organism. Then what we need to do is think about what else would we like to know in order to try and make a more confident prediction. So if your job right now is to figure out what these two animals ate, what if you could see one other piece of this organism, what would you like to see and why?
Environment, maybe.
Okay, so you want to see the environment in which it lives. Okay, that makes sense. If you could see one more structure of one more set of the bones, what would you like to see to tell you about what this organism ate?
Maybe the
Neck, maybe.
teeth.
I'm sorry, I heard two people.
Maybe the head or like the teeth in particular.
Okay, please explain.
Because I think like predators, they had larger teeth
Okay.
because they needed more chewing
Okay.
rather than like animals that ate vegetables, plants.
Makes sense. Did someone say something different though? I just want to make sure before
Maybe neck.
Okay, please explain.
Because dinosaurs which eat grass, they have large neck.
Okay. So yeah, I think either of those would be useful ways of again, we're not looking for conclusive proof, but more evidence to support a hypothesis. So let's just check real quick. What do you think? What do you predict about the teeth? Nazim, did I say your name right?
Yeah, Nazum.
Nazim, I'm sorry. The first, how would you imagine the teeth are for these two dinosaurs? Would they be very similar? Would they be different?
I feel like they would be different because the first one would have like maybe larger and sharper
Okay.
structure of the teeth, and this dinosaur maybe had the smaller ones.
Okay, interesting. Please explain your thinking. I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I just would love you to explain how you made those connections.
Probably just because, again, because of the structure.
Hmm.
The second dinosaur has like a more smooth
Hmm.
and it look I'm not like the claws, they look like they're for maybe to scare off predators, but not as functional as the first ones.
Okay, I think that makes sense. All right, so let's Nurse Hassan, would you mind scrolling down? And this one we don't need to
Okay.
draw. Yeah. So this is the first skeleton that belongs to the first set of claws. And so now, because we can look at this structure, we can see whether or not that prediction is correct. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I imagine it somehow like this because I can see that the teeth are very sharp
Hmm.
and there there's a lot of them.
Yep. Excellent. So what you're seeing here, and I think this is generally true, and this might not be a connection that we instinctively make, but there's going to be an evolutionary relationship between hands and teeth. Why? Why would there be an evolutionary connection between these two things?
Because the hands like they hunt with them.
Yes, it's exactly right. What you eat, I mean, and it kind of goes both ways. What you can catch will determine what you can eat, and so they will affect each other in that sense. Fura, am I saying your name right? Again, my apologies if I'm not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right. So, teacher, I can share my uh,
Please.
first one. This one is a less smaller one than the second one, and it preys on other species, not dinosaurs, and it can be on the lowest pyramid of dinosaurs, the one that other dinosaurs may eat them
Okay. Yeah. So you're suggesting that this one
because
is
they have like small.
yeah. So this one you're talking about the size of it. So yeah. So this is not like the apex predator, and you're right. My understanding is this one actually tends to eat smaller dinosaurs, but you're I think what you're collectively saying about this is it makes a lot of sense. All right. Let's go down to the next one real quick, please. All right. This is the one with the large claws. What do we see here?
Ooh,
Ooh, who said ooh? Please tell me.
me.
Okay. So you just had an aha moment.
Yeah.
When you say ooh or ah, that means your brain is registering something that it didn't expect. So let's try and whenever we say something like that, even subconsciously, we should try and figure out what it is that made us say that. Please tell me what you're saying ooh about.
Yeah. Students' hypothesis came true.
Hmm.
And like,
Absolutely.
yeah, the first one's head was like, thesis were like, too TC, like, too bitey, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this one looks like a herbivore,
Mhm.
rather than carnivore.
Yes. That's
Mm,
exactly right. And so, yes, this is an herbivorous creature. Now,
mm,
is that surprising for some of you that that the creature with the large claws ate is an herbivore? Well, what kind of what kind of plants would it need to be eating to justify having claws that look like swords?
bamboo.
Yeah, okay, so something it's not just eating grass.
Yeah.
Okay, it must be eating something that justifies having those kinds of natural weapons um to address. And yes, it would be something that is tougher than just simple grass. So whether it's vines, whether it's bamboo, whether it's like trees, whether it's bushes, it's chopping things down to
Mm.
consume them. Okay, so I think this is an excellent example of something where uh, you have unexpected connections where maybe you knew this but not explicitly. The hand and teeth connection, that is not something that's you all seem to intuitively understand it but not necessarily have consciously thought about it, and that's a great thing for to have students investigate. But it's also really valuable to spend a lot of time on just two things, because in a museum there's thousands of exhibits and we just rush through them. You all just spent 30 minutes almost looking at basically two hands and we spent most of our time looking at two hands, and we spent a little bit of time looking at two skulls. And that took up half an hour of deep investigating. And that is a much more valuable way to engage in a scientific process than to just go through and I mean, I'm sure you have fantastic museums with hundreds of wonderful exhibits, but what happens when we look at something very quickly? Nothing ever sticks with you. You might never look at these dinosaurs again, but I can almost guarantee you that because you sketched those dinosaur arms, something of this will stay with you longer than it would have if you had just walked by it in the museum. I mean, how many times have you gone to the museum and it's just a blur to you? For me, it's almost every time. Until I learned how to draw, everything I went and saw the museum was a complete blur. So when you go and teach a class and you take kids on a museum trip, one thing that I recommend that you do is make kids have or give them or make them all take a notebook and some pencils and make them draw two different organisms and compare them. Not the whole thing, just compare one part, compare the arms, compare the heads. This forces them to think. You're giving them a problem that they need to analyze, and our brains look for answers. And that's how you get them actively engaged instead of passively viewing, which is what so much of our typical field trip or museums tend to be. They tend to be passive experiences.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but I don't. Please, obviously, what is sort of like your major museum, your worldwide, your best one?
Museum?
Yes, like a famous science museum or history museum in Kazakhstan.
I think I've never been to any like famous museum, just like the casual ones we have in
Yeah.
Paris.
So what are the major? I don't know. I know nothing. I'm very ignorant.
I went to one in Almaty and it's very big, but
Okay.
even though like they don't have how should I say, like this kind of pictures, it's more about like the history of Kazakhstan.
Okay.
But I've seen a lot of things and I saw some aha things, as you say. Like I had some aha moments.
Please share one.
Okay, I think it was the time I saw, what was it? There is this famous person in Kazakhstan, Abai Konambayev or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a sword, I think, which belonged to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's located in the museum. And like the structure, the size,
Mm-hmm.
it's actually not like it's not the same as the one we use nowadays. Like it's what we see in movies or the ones we have at home.
Okay.
And so like it was a kind of aha moment. I had others also, which I may not really remember right now.
Okay.
But like, yeah.
So sorry, is it larger than the typical sword? Smaller?
Of course,
Okay.
bigger, larger. Yeah.
That's excellent. So I love that, because so I'm using this for science, but this idea of close examination and observation is not only for science, it can be for history, it can be for any subject, and any museum trip can benefit from this. So going to a museum and actively looking at something, you happen to maybe you happen to like swords, and so you happen to notice that. That's your unique perspective, but maybe somebody who doesn't care for swords would never have noticed that. So by doing that, by looking at that and sharing that, you have now made it so that anyone in this class who goes to that museum might notice this in a way that they never did before. This is why I think it is sharing what we notice is incredibly important. It's not just about like the right answer. It's 5 people can look at something and see 5 different things because of all of our history, whatever we happen to notice. And so we are bringing that perspective whenever we share it. That's why I always say science is not just about what we see. It's about how clearly we can share what we see. So you share. I've never been to Kazakhstan, but you have shared something with me about swords that has now enriched me. Um, I'm curious if you were because I know this class is focused on the cultural relevance. So uh, I think museums are obviously incredibly important places of cultural relevance. And uh, one of the things that I think is important to think about is the fundamental fact that uh, we don't tend to pay attention to the things that we can see quickly. These devices have made it so that our brains never look at something for more than 1 second, and we think we see everything. Uh, but spending 20 minutes looking at something reveals so many wonderful things. What would be a place where you could imagine spending 20 minutes looking at something, either yourself or with students, that would enrich them? Maybe an exhibit that you've seen, or a painting that you've seen, some kind of cultural artifact that might be that people should spend 20 or 30 minutes looking at. This is your chance to teach me something.
Maybe just staring at nature, for example, mountains or rivers or forests, not
Absolutely.
something made by human.
This is a really good point. Uh, you're absolutely right. This should definitely not just be reserved for things that are made by humans. Nature uh, is infinitely better at making things. There's so much beauty in nature, and beauty that we walk by every day. I always say this, there's magic in the mundane. Um, Things that we don't that we walk by every day. Your national flower, or something that is that you walk by and we don't pay a lot of attention to. But every version will have infinite variations. If you're looking at a river, you're never looking at the same river twice, because the water is flowing and changing the river. So literally, you are noticing a different version of that river every time you look at it. Or the mountains, they're slowly changing, but the weather changes. There's infinite opportunities for variation to look at them, and that offers opportunities to capture those differences as it changes daily. So yeah, nature is a fantastic way of doing it. Um, you are the plan for most of you is to teach someday science, right? Is that the
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
What subjects
Since, physics,
mostly?
some of us, yes, mostly
Okay.
physics, and I think maybe some IT part.
Okay.
Yeah, these are the major like major fields here.
I see. Okay. So obviously the skull is not necessarily going to be directly relevant to your day-to-day thinking, but and you're going to have to forgive me, I know next to nothing about IT, but let me just put the burden on you. How could you use this idea of close noticing to help teach physics?
Could you repeat the question, teacher?
Yeah, what we did, we spent 30 minutes closely observing something, and you shared what you noticed with the class. How could you use this in a physics class if you were teaching physics? It's not the skull, obviously, but like this looking at
This
something.
method, like, yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, like I said, like the method, yeah.
Yeah, this method. Yes, that's exactly right.
I think there are many instances which we can use it for student, because to be honest, this is very interesting. Like we just explored something new,
Mhm.
which without even realizing we spent a lot of time doing it, and it seems very engaging. And I think nowadays, really like even us and the younger generation, this is one of the most important things we need in classroom because we no longer can continue like using the old method of teaching, just coming to class to explain formulas or just solve problems and go. Yeah. And right now, after we finish, this is like my own perspective and own view about this method. I right now, like I'm looking from window, and there are trees around. So I start to realizing, like especially after what Daniel said, we have to look at nature at the same time. Just look at it and observe how beautiful it is. Like yeah, the beauty in it and the many structures which we don't really like notice, we just pass by every day,
Yep.
but then there are many things we can notice even from a tree, not
Yes.
even going to museum. Yeah.
Yep.
So I think if we can find like things related to topics.
Yeah.
For example, let's say you are going to teach about it could be like any topic. A
Sure.
teacher can conduct a research before going to the classroom,
Mhm.
like what is something that is around us which will
Yeah.
revive or will awaken the curiosity in student mind.
Yes, excellent. I love your example of a tree. So, this is something, we walk by our homes and there are trees that we never learn the names of, which is, I think is a shame that, you can literally walk by a tree thousands of times and never learn its name. Uh,
Yes, yes.
one of my assignments that I have my students do is they have to become the expert on one tree on their block. They have to, find the species name, collect samples of it, sketch it over various weeks so that they can notice the changes to it as the weather changes. And, they're not an expert on trees, but they are the expert on the tree on their block. They probably know that tree better than anybody else
And
in the
school.
city. Yeah.
Mm,
And
that's
something that you said
that's
that's really important, that, like, if I had spent 30 minutes talking to you about Allosaurus, well, that would be a recipe for putting you all to sleep. All of you would turn off your screens and take a nap because you're not in, who cares? Like, that's not very important and relevant, but you all discovered stuff through observing that if I had
mm,
told you these things, that you would never remember them 2 minutes after this lecture was over. So the thing I really want to continue to focus on is, regardless of the subject, if you can spend time paying attention, close, deeply observing, and asking questions, you are your own best teacher. You all taught yourselves about these two dinosaur species. I didn't teach you a single thing. Uh, I
that's
just
true.
tried
Yeah.
to get you to pay attention to details that you might have normally overlooked.
Salim,
Uh,
Yeah,
previously I taught the similar class
yeah,
to the students,
hmm
and we have, like tenet of nature of science.
yeah,
That's like about observation and inference.
yeah,
For example, like you see, what do you see in the picture? Like this is my drawing. I
yeah,
can delete it, for example, and just from this picture, what do you see, for example?
yeah.
Like we experienced this with our students previously.
Yeah. I mean, these are, I mean, it looks like it could be like footprints or so, like, my hypothesis was like a three-toed, uh, four-legged creature with three toes. That's what I would guess, and then I would need more information to see whether or not that makes
Okay.
sense. Okay.
And what do you see now?
Okay. Uh, maybe something like either uh, bird feet. That I'm thinking birds because I'm thinking of like a chicken
Mhm.
as it moves, maybe two coming together, or pigeons. That's sort of what I'm okay. Now it looks like So this feels close to being right. Like I see these, like maybe they're scrambling around food. They've all come together around food. That's my guess. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
Yeah. This
that's
is how like this is how I draw it. Like this is not supposed to be here. Like this is just
yeah.
drawing, but the the meaning here is that like nature of science explains like we need to motivate in students their observation and
Yep.
inference.
Yep.
They need to explain something or even try to explain something, even though we don't know what it is. They need
Yep.
to be able to explain it
Yep.
and express their opinion, like
Yep.
no matter is correct or wrong.
Yep.
They need to like try to explain it, imagine it, and comprehend it,
Yep.
and come up with some valuable ideas. And this is like what you taught today is exactly the tenet, nature of
Yeah.
science, about observation and inference.
Yeah.
And it also we recall our classroom. We also had some paper related to the cultural relevant stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that student went to the museum and observed their like cultural stuff, like fossil fuel finders story in museum, and they discuss it. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah,
Wonderful. Yeah.
students, do you recall it? Do you recall this class?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you, Salim, for having us, for coming and sharing your experience.
Thank you.
We
I
are very
appreciate
very
this.
glad to have you.
It continues to be my pleasure. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
So students, let's come at from your side. What time is it?
It's
See.
8:53.